right, this video is for Pre-Calculus Unit 8, and in this example, we are going to look at an application example for a bearing. So we have a situation here. We've got a boat that leaves the entrance of a harbor, and it travels 40 miles on a bearing of south 64 degrees east. How many miles south and east has the boat traveled? All right, so what's going on here is that we are given a quadrant bearing. So the easiest place to start is to draw our quadrants: north, east, south, and west. All right, so let me switch colors. All right, so if I'm looking at a south 64 east, that means that this is going to be roughly, oh dang it, God, I hate autocorrect stuff, drives me crazy. So 64 degrees east, okay? So I started south and I moved 64 degrees in the eastward direction. So in this particular situation, we are told that the boat leaves the entrance of the harbor and it travels 40 miles on that bearing. So that means that this right here measures 40 miles because it's traveling on that bearing for 40 miles. So what we need to do now is answer the question, how many miles south and east has the boat traveled? So I want to know how many miles this way, east, and how many miles this way, south. So I'm going to call this X and I'm going to call this Y. There's your right triangle. Okay, so having said that, I'm going to redraw my right triangle so it's a little bigger, a little easier to see. I know this is 40 miles. And this right here is 64 miles, which means this angle right here is going to be 90 minus 64. So that means that's going to be 26 degrees right there. Because remember, we've got to have two things that we know to use sine, cosine, or tangent. So now what we're going to do is, and I'm just going to remind you that the X represents the miles that were traveled east, and Y represents the miles traveled south. Okay, so we don't lose our bearing. Okay. All right, so anyway, so I'm using 26 degrees, and I'm going to find X first. It really doesn't matter which one you go with. So that's going to be cosine of 26 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So I'm going to cross multiply here. I'm going to use Desmos, my calculator here. So I've got 40 times cosine of 26 degrees. That gives me 35.95. And since I can't really round it to one decimal, I'm just going to round it to a whole number. So X is approximately 36 miles east. And now we're going to find how many miles south with Y. So I'm going to use the sine of 26 degrees, which equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cross multiply. Use Desmos. And I get 17.5 miles south. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.